Think about this. The strongest leader in Rome was laughed at by his own army for not acting like a real man. One empress had everything but secretly worked in brothels at night. An emperor decided to live as a woman, and it shocked everyone so much that people still talk about it today. These true stories aren't just weird, they changed Rome forever. Get ready for secrets you won't find in any schoolbook. In ancient Rome, sex wasn't about pleasure. It was a weapon, a power move, a way to dominate or be dominated. There was no concept of sexual orientation in Rome. Historians didn't even have those words back then. What mattered was something much stranger, the mechanics of power. Who penetrated and who was penetrated, that's what defined your status, your masculinity, everything. If you were a man and you were the one penetrating, you were powerful, masculine, in control. If you were being penetrated, you were weak, degraded, finished. That's the system that ruled Rome. And when people broke this system, when they stepped out of line, Rome went absolutely nuclear. Today, we're breaking down the most scandalous sex stories of ancient Rome, and by the time we're done, you'll understand why these weren't just gossip. They were threats to the entire empire. Picture this. You're Julius Caesar. You've just conquered Gaul. Your army is chanting your name. You're about to become the most powerful man in Rome. And then, everyone starts singing about how you got dominated by a foreign king. Here's what happened. When Caesar was young, he went on a military mission to the court of King Nicomedes. Simple job, pick up ships, come home. Except he stayed way too long. And then the rumours started. Caesar and the king, lovers. And this is the part that destroyed him. Caesar was allegedly the passive one, meaning he supposedly allowed himself to be penetrated. Whether this actually happened, historians genuinely don't know. The sources are sketchy, mixed with political spin. But here's what mattered. It didn't matter if it was true. The accusation was enough. When Caesar won his first military victory and paraded through Rome, his own soldiers sang a diss track about him. Caesar laid the Gauls low. Nicomedes laid Caesar low. During his victory parade, in front of thousands, his own army, his political rival Marcus Bibulus called him the Queen of Bithynia in the Senate, over and over. Even Cicero made jokes about it. And this reveals how Rome's system worked. The accusation that Caesar had been passive destroyed his authority because power in Rome flowed from dominance. To be passive was to lose everything. To be the penetrator was to own the room. So the scandal followed him his entire life. The guy who conquered the world could never shake this because stepping outside the penetrator role, voluntarily or even by accusation, was stepping outside the definition of being a man. But what Caesar faced was nothing compared to what one Roman empress was about to do. She'd break the rules in ways that would make history itself uncomfortable. Meet Valeria Messalina, wife of Emperor Claudius. And according to Roman historians, she was absolutely unhinged. This woman challenged a professional prostitute to a competition. The competition? Who could have sex with the most men in one night? Messalina won. She had 25 consecutive partners. The historian Pliny the Elder recorded it like it was breaking news. But that's not even the craziest part. According to the satirist Juvenal, Messalina would sneak out of the imperial palace at night, wearing disguises and wigs. She'd work in actual brothels under aliases. She'd come back at dawn, sweaty, exhausted, tired of men, but still not satisfied. She was the empress. She had everything. And she was sneaking out to work in brothels anyway. Now were these accounts exaggerated? Absolutely. Ancient historians love making up wild stories about powerful women to make their husbands look weak. But here's what's insane. These stories seem believable to Romans because the system forbade female sexual agency. A wife was supposed to be passive, controlled, owned by her husband. Messalina demanding pleasure, pursuing it actively, going out and taking it, that violated the entire hierarchy. But she made one mistake Rome would not forgive. She married another man, not secretly, an actual wedding ceremony. While still married to Claudius, Claudius had her executed. The woman with 25 lovers in one night, fine, sneaking out to brothels, gossip, but marrying a different man, that was treason, because marriage transferred ownership. That challenged power itself. But if Messalina broke Rome's rule, the emperors completely destroyed them. What comes next will show you just how far one man could push before Rome had to stop him. Emperor Caligula ruled for less than 4 years. In those 4 years, he became one of history's most notorious lunatics. This guy looked at married women like resources he could access whenever he wanted. At banquets, he'd have wives paraded in front of him like inventory. He'd pick one, take her to his bedroom, return to announce he'd married her. He literally stole a bride at her own wedding and announced it to her mortified husband. Days later, he divorced her, married another woman, divorced her too, ordered her to never sleep with another man on pain of death. This wasn't romance or even abuse in the sense we'd understand it. This was pure power. This was one man testing how far dominance could go. And the answer was infinitely far, because he was emperor, because his word was law, because the system incentivized this. Caligula could dominate without consequence because the entire hierarchy was built on his absolute power, his ability to penetrate, control, and destroy. Nobody could stop him because stopping him would unravel the whole structure. But Caligula's sexual violence was nothing compared to what one emperor did next. One emperor went to an island and stayed there, and the things allegedly done there, even Rome's own historians struggled to write them down. Emperor Tiberius started competent, reasonable, effective. Then something broke. He retreated to the island of Capri and never came back to Rome. And according to historians, that island became ground zero for depravity. Tiberius built a private palace filled with pornographic art. He offered massive rewards to anyone who could invent new sexual acts. The allegations go darker. Suetonius claims Tiberius engaged in violent sexual coercion and forced participation. He kept people in his palace who he exploited against their will. Now here's the crucial thing. These accounts are almost certainly exaggerated by hostile sources written after he died. Historians today seriously debate what was real versus propaganda. But the consistency of them across multiple sources tells us Roman society thought Tiberius was capable of absolutely anything. The system of unlimited power, of unchecked dominance, had broken him. And when that break happened, he became untouchable. For years he'd ruled effectively. He wasn't always a monster. Something in the power structure itself corrupted him. But even Tiberius's alleged depravity pales compared to what one emperor did next. Something so shocking that when the story surfaced, modern museums had to decide how to describe this person. The answer surprised everyone. Emperor Elagabalus ruled for 4 years. In those 4 years, Elagabalus did things so shocking they threatened the entire empire. Here's the basics. Elagabalus was born male, but refused to be treated as male, wore women's clothes, asked people to call her a lady, not a lord. Cassius Dio recorded Elagabalus saying, "Do not call me lord, for I am a lady." Now here's the problem. Our sources are heavily slanted. Most of what we know comes from hostile accounts written decades after Elagabalus died, possibly to discredit her politically. Modern historians debate how much is real and how much is character assassination, but some elements check out. Elagabalus did marry a chariot driver named Heracles. Court records confirm it. She did take the feminine role in the relationship. This was public, announced. And this is what made Rome lose its mind. Not because of sexual acts, but because if the emperor wasn't unambiguously masculine, wasn't unambiguously the penetrator and master, then the whole hierarchy collapsed. Power in Rome flowed from dominance. If the top of the hierarchy wasn't dominant, nothing made sense anymore. And Rome couldn't tolerate that. Elagabalus was murdered at 18. The conspirators didn't just kill her. They mutilated the body and threw it in the river to ensure she couldn't be properly buried. But while emperors could dominate anyone they wanted, there was one group of women who held power through the exact opposite. Their story proves that sometimes denying everything gives you everything. While empresses were getting executed and nobles were being assaulted, 6 women held unprecedented power. The Vestal Virgin. These priestesses guarded Rome's sacred flame. They took 30-year vows of celibacy, and in exchange, They got rights no other woman possessed. They could own property, make wills, control their own money, sit in the best seats at public games. They walked around Rome with official bodyguards. All this power came from refusing sex. But if you broke that vow, you were buried alive. Not executed, buried alive. The Romans believed they couldn't spill a Vestal's blood, so this was their solution. Your partner, publicly beaten to death. This tells you everything about the system. Sex was power. If you were a man, you wielded it. If you were a woman, you were supposed to be passive. Unless you were a Vestal, then you wielded the ultimate power by refusing participation in the sexual economy entirely. And the absolutely hilarious part? These 6 celibate virgin priestesses guarded Rome's most sacred object, a stone phallus called the Fascinus Populi Romani, a divine penis protected by virgin. Protected from what? Evil eye and bad luck. Rome was weird. So what do these scandals tell us? Rome's sexual system wasn't about pleasure or freedom. It was about hierarchy, pure hierarchy. The penetrator was the master. The penetrated was subordinate. When someone stepped outside that system, when Caesar let himself be accused of passivity, when Messalina demanded agency, when Elagabalus presented as female, Rome went nuclear. Because sex wasn't private, it was political. It was the foundation of the entire power structure. Understanding Roman sexuality isn't about learning scandal. It's about understanding how a society can build its entire hierarchy on one idea, dominance and submission, and what happens when that idea gets questioned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.